Is there such a thing called soulmate? From Kishore Chandiramani. The word soulmate has created enormous confusion and suffering for humanity. People, more so in the Western world, are always looking for someone who can be their soulmate so that they can abandon their painful and never ending search and live happily ever after with that special person who was created for them. For some, even after so many years of their marriage, this longing stays deep inside. It's important to understand our loving and other relationships in terms of the following three categories. First, body mate, that is, sharing physical pleasures. Second, the mind mate, that is, sharing the mental space. And third, the soul mate, that is, the person connects to the other person's soul or the universal soul which is common to all humanity. In the soul space, there is no give and take, and it's either you are connected with it or disconnected. There are no halfways, and it's not difficult to find out if at this moment you are connected or disconnected with it, if you have the ability to look deeply within. When you marry, your partner is expected to be all three of these for you, and vice versa. That would be ideal. But in less than ideal circumstances, one ends up being only one of the three, that is, a body mate, or a mind mate, or a soul mate, or a mixture of any two of these three components. If one is only body mate, they would enjoy only the physical relationship, but there would be no feelings of togetherness, sharing of passions, intellectual stimulation, friendship, and selfless love. We see this happening in very brief casual relationships. Another scenario would be one is not a body mate or a soul mate, but only a mind mate. This is seen in friendships between same gender or opposite ones. An example would be people belonging to the same group, ideology, or school of thought. The relationship between Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir can also fall in this category. The physical relations ended, but they continued to share intellectual insights and were friends to each other until the end. A third example would be only soulmate, no body mate or mind mate. The example would be the relationship between Raman Maharshi and his mother, or Adi Shankaracharya and his mother. Raman Maharshi left home when aged 16 in search of his spiritual goals and never returned. When his mother found out where he was after several years and went to bring him home, he refused to come. But eventually, they lived together in his ashram for several years before she died. She was his soulmate late in life. Shankaracharya, an Indian saint and scholar, also wanted to leave home against his mother's wishes, but he promised that he will come back whenever she remembered him and at the time of her death, which he did. Ramanuja was a great Indian mathematician who went to Cambridge but didn't take his wife along. And there is a film made on his life called The Man Who Knew Infinity, which had won an Academy Award. There was no sharing of his intellectual insights of mathematics with his wife, but perhaps there was a very deep connection between the two. Now, let us look at having two of these three ingredients. First, the mind mate and a soulmate. There is no physical relationship, but every other ingredient is present. We find that in many marriages, perhaps late in life, sexual activity comes to an end, more so in a lesbian relationship, which is called bed death. But they continue to share intellectual space and experience selfless love. Many couples describe themselves as living like siblings and have no physical relationship, but would describe their marriage as exceptionally good. It's not limited only to heterosexual relationships. This could be true for a brother-sister relationship, mother and daughter, or a relationship between two friends. An example of this would be the relationship between Sigmund Freud and his daughter Anna Freud. Anna never married, and her father was the main male figure in her life. They both were intellectuals and shared the mind space, and perhaps the soul space as well. It is also seen in the relationship between political and spiritual leaders and their followers. Having the soulmate ingredient brings in the element of selflessness in the relationship. The next category would be being bodymate and mindmate. People have great physical and mental intimacy, but it's all based on selfishness, and the relationship keeps going because the give-get balance is right. Since there is no connection at the soul level, there is no selfless love, and the relationship breaks off as soon as the give-get relationship goes off balance. The next category would be bodymate and soulmate. This is seen in couples where one of them is not at the same level of intellectual ability as the other one, and there is no intellectual sharing. But the physical relationship is great, and there is the element of selfless love as well. Such a relationship keeps going even if the physical side dies because of the soul connection. The relationship survives even if the selflessness is only one-sided, although it would be great if it is mutually reciprocated. Now, understanding selflessness in relationships. This can be of different varieties. One may be selfless out of one's duty or demands of the situation rather than a sense of pleasure, whereas in the other circumstances, one can't help but be the person who is help giving, and it is consistent with their inner feelings. Next is misconceptions in this area. Sadly, people think that one can't have more than one soulmates and believe that if someone loves his or her sister or mother deeply, it is at the cost of their love for their spouse. But the reality is just the opposite. If someone hasn't learned how to love their sister or mother, with whom they have shared most of their life so far, deeply, what are the chances that this person will be able to love their spouse deeply? Whenever I see someone not having an intimate relationship with their sibs or parents, I can smell poor prognosis of their other relationships as well. As one's relationship with one's parents and sibs are the prototype of all other relationships. However, there are some exceptions to this rule. Those who could not have intimate relationships within their family of origin do develop deep bonds within their own families. They learn how not to repeat the mistakes of their parents. Even the famous psychiatrist Sigmund Freud went wrong here in trying to understand relationships. He said, Loving your enemy would be detrimental to your psychic apparatus. Perhaps he didn't understand that in the process of acquiring the ability to love one's neighbor or enemy, one has already become stronger, as it requires neutralizing one's negative feelings, and this will strengthen their psychic apparatus. Without neutralizing their negative feelings towards the enemy, one can't love them. Perhaps in the physical arena, commitment and exclusivity to one person causes least problems. But at the soul level, any connection is likely to have a positive ripple effect on other relationships as well. To conclude, the word soulmate simply means you are relating to the person from your soul or inner consciousness and in a selfless manner, or the other person is instrumental in helping you connect to your deeper reaches where selfless love resides. This can happen with more than one person or the whole of humanity. One can think of connecting with a soulmate in terms of making a delicious pudding. Your soulmate is not out there ready-made looking for you, and you don't have to look for signs of a soulmate in any person. A soulmate is not offered to you on a platter like your wedding cake. It's up to you to make someone a soulmate if you want to, if enough ingredients are there in front of you. Just as you can make a pudding if there are enough ingredients to do that in front of you. But you can also choose not to make a pudding even if the ingredients are there in front of you. Also, if you want to make a pudding and enough ingredients are not there in front of you, you need to bring them out from your own self or from the other person. So there is no one person who will either fit the bill or not fit the bill. There may be many people who can easily fit the bill, and many people who with little effort will fit the bill. It's up to you if you want a soulmate, and stop looking for that one person who was tailor-made for you in the heavens by your destiny. For Jesus and the Buddha, the whole humanity was their soulmate. For someone, it may just be one person or more than one person. Another quality of soulmate relationship is that it's irreversible. Once established, you can't snap out of that relationship by will. That is why many individuals, after going through several relationships or marriages, keep the feelings they had towards their first love. King Charles in England is an example. As the old saying goes, a woman, perhaps a man as well, can never forget her first love. I'm not sure how correct this is in modern times. If the first love was a casual one does forget it. And if the love had elements of soul connection, one never forgets it, whether it is the first one or the last one.